Hey, Ryan, I got a question for you. So if you throw for under 80 yards and you only scored 3 points on offense, did you let your defense down?
Not at all. Not at all.
Well, absolutely not, right? And according to Zach Wilson, he didn't let his defense down. It's time for garbage time. Guys, welcome into Garbage Time Fantasy Football. Tonight, we have more than just the excuses of Zach Wilson and Kenny Pickett. How are you tonight, Ryan?
I'm good. You know, it was almost a rough day for me yesterday, but my team pulled through and kept me happy.
Yeah, I'm so not happy that your team pulled through, and I'm surprised that none of my electronics ended up through a window. Guys, if you like what you hear on Garbage Time Fantasy Football, make sure to like and subscribe to the show here on YouTube. We are also live on Twitch and Twitter. You can also listen to us on audio formats on Apple, Spotify, Google, Pandora, Amazon, Iheartradio, Tunein, and leave us voicemails at www.garbagetimeff.com. You can also ask anything of us here in the comments below if you're not listening to this live at Garbage Time Fantasy Football on Instagram and on Twitter at garbage_time FF. And with that, Ryan, you ready to get into the news and my bitching session about Zach Wilson tonight?
Yeah, I mean, surprisingly, quite a bit of news came out today. Some stuff I didn't see coming, so let's get into it.
Let's do it.
News updates.
One more thing before we get into the news, too, guys. If you want to win this signed Miles Sanders Gridiron card, all you have to do is like and subscribe to the show here on YouTube. Leave a comment that you are part of the Heckling fandom, and leave us a review on Apple. So just go ahead and do that. We will draw that name out of Ron's dirty hat at the end of the year, and you will win a nice and expensive Miles Sanders card for the holiday season. That sounds pretty good, right, Ryan?
It sounds like a great deal.
Absolutely. So first little bit of news that we have tonight, let's talk about JJ's favorite player here, Justin Fields, banged up his shoulder. So what are the implications for Justin Fields in this upcoming weekend, and what is it going to do to the Bears offense? Any chance that he gets on the field?
I don't know. So I got an alert shortly before this that they said it's a dislocated shoulder. I don't know what the timeline usually is on that. So it's probably going to be a wait and see. But if he's out, I mean, I think that negates just about everyone not named David Montgomery.
Yeah, it kind of feels like that. And they're going to be going up against a pretty staunch defense this weekend. Not that the offense can score anything more than 3 points. Joe Mixon is banged up and seems to be in concussion protocol. So what is the implications for Samaje Perine off his awesome performance with the Bengals last night?
Yeah, I mean, if Mixon is out, definitely monitor that. If he's out, Perine is a solid starter. I mean, high-end RB2, low-end RB1, just because of volume alone. I mean, are you going to see another 30-plus point fantasy performance like last week? Probably not, but you should still get some decent numbers.
Absolutely, and as a weekly starter, especially if you're right around the playoffs right now and you need that extra little push, he's going to be one of those top waiver priorities for you this week as this week's starter. Maybe not long-term, but definitely as this week. Yeah. Guys, we will have an early waiver show for you tomorrow because of the holiday weekends. Our schedules are a little effed up like everybody's, but you will get that show early live tomorrow. So you may not get the live edition of it, but you can always get the pre-recording, which will help you for your Thursday games, which will also be on the waiver show. So tomorrow morning, you will get the waiver show and the first 3 games, which are on Thanksgiving, in this podcast commentary, I guess is what I'm going to say. Next little bit of news that we have for you too. Matt Stafford is also in concussion protocol. So I need to ask you this question. Is the Rams offense a complete fade? Now, obviously, with a lot of their wide receivers banged up. And do we even like Cam Akers or Tyler Higbee out of those weapons? What's your thoughts on the Rams offense?
If Stafford's out, I'm saying completely fade all of it. If Stafford is in, I'm still fading all of it, except I would say Higbee like a fringe tight end one. He's a streamable tight end if Matt Stafford is in.
I would say he's almost a necessity for that offense at this time, who is very much hanging on by a limb here. They're looking at a top 10 draft pick if they actually had any at this point, which they don't.
And the news on Cooper Kupp's coming out that if they're not in playoff contention, they're not rushing him back. So
that kind of sounds like they may shut him down.
Yeah, I mean, if you see the Lions come out and lose another game where it seems like there's no way, I think Kupp's gonna be done for the year.
Kyle Pitts has a major MCL injury and is going to miss a minimum of 4 weeks. So is this going to make Drake London a little bit more viable for fantasy going forward? And should the Kyle Pitts owners who have been struggling benching him or playing him week to week pivot?
Yeah, so I think it does help out Drake London's fantasy performance. He saved a terrible fantasy outing this past week with a touchdown. Probably the only saving grace of the week for him. He got a touchdown, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And if you're pivoting, then I would be looking on the waiver wire. We're going to talk about him a little bit coming up soon, but you got Tyler Higbee. You got Logan Thomas might still be out there.
Coach Saints tight ends.
Yeah. Juwan Johnson.
Taysom Hill.
He's viable. Cole Kmet, he did return to earth this week, so look to see if someone dumps him quick. But he's probably going to be picked up in most of your leagues. But those are some of the guys I would pivot to.
All right, Melvin Gordon got cut by the Broncos. This was a very surprising move today. So what is your thoughts? Yeah, so give us your shocking thoughts then.
Well, so we'll make it a twofer. I think I was most shocked because it came out at the same time that Chase Edmonds is going to miss multiple weeks. It's got to be the fumbles, right?
I would think so. It just seems like such a strange timing considering they don't have a lot there at running back.
I think the biggest takeaway for me from this is that means Latavius Murray's stock is way up.
Yeah, absolutely. I would think so. Although they could just go to the practice squad and continue that shitty committee. I'm just fading that whole backfield altogether, to be honest. I have no interest in that backfield. That offense is just horrible.
I mean, Latavius Murray's been putting together some solid weeks, I think. Like he's probably at least like, let me see right quick. He's probably flex consideration. I mean, 17 points left. Yeah, but I think he's probably a flats, but could work up into RB2 range with Edmonds and Gordon now gone.
You've got a lot more faith in him than I do. I'm avoiding that backfield.
The Broncos haven't given us a lot of reasons to have faith in any part of that team, so I understand.
Which Wilson would you rather have right now? Zach Wilson or Russell Wilson?
Oh, man. Russell, I guess. I feel like he at least gets yards.
Oh, God. So bad.
I mean, you guys got, 2 yards in the second half?
I can't. I may throw this laptop.
I hear you.
Chase Edmonds could miss multiple weeks. Does this mean Jeff Wilson is going to be extremely viable the upcoming weeks?
I just mentioned Chase Edmonds. I don't know why I thought he was on the Broncos.
I am mixing players up right here. Edmonds isn't even on Miami anymore, is he?
No,
he is not. He's going to be missing. Where did he end up after the trade deadline?
Oh, Chase Edmonds was on the Broncos. So you had Melvin Gordon, Chase Edmonds, and Latavius Murray. So that's why
I'm mixing up former 49ers and Cardinals players here. So go ahead and go into the Chase Edmonds injury there with the Denver Broncos. So that's why you have a little bit more faith in Latavius Murray?
Yeah, that's why I think his stock. I mean, I think he's clearly going to be the RB1 at this point with Chase Edmonds gone, Melvin Gordon gone.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he could be RB2 the rest of the season going forward.
So you think this will actually be a pop-up for Latavius Murray then?
Yes.
Okay, I can go with you a little bit more now too, but I still think I would rather look in other avenues if I actually could. And we'll get into that on the waiver show tomorrow too. Mike Williams re-aggravated his injury during the game. It's awful. Just these Chargers wide receivers can't seem to stay healthy.
I
Palmer's a start going forward, I think, right?
Yeah, and I hope the listener listened to the LaPrant and Warner show. We told everybody to fade Williams, wait and see, and sure enough.
All right, Wan'Dale Robinson tore his ACL. This was highly disappointing because he was having the best performance of his young career.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on Wan'Dale's future dynasty prospects? Obviously, for redraft, he's done this year.
Yeah, done the dynasty. I'm still rolling with him. I mean, you gotta hold on to him. I do think it really hurts Daniel Jones going forward, because he has no one left to throw to other than Darius Slayton.
Is this going to apply the pressure for them to potentially sign Odell Beckham in the upcoming weeks?
It could, but I don't know. I feel like Odell's. I mean, I don't know, but from what I was reading, it seems like he's narrowed down to the Cowboys and the Giants. And if he was just paying attention to last week, I think you know who he would pick.
I think I saw something about the Ravens today too, so I think they're another team to still potentially lodge. But my gut is that he's going to end up with the Giants. I think there's definitely a need there. They may throw a little bit more money his way. They're getting desperate, and they're pretty close to having a pretty decent playoff run here. They play close against a lot of opponents, and they need that piece to put them over the edge.
I'm leaning Dallas.
We'll see there. All right, you ready to get into the weekly recap? There's a lot of good, a lot of bad, and a lot of surprising this week.
Yeah, it was a very weird week for fantasy. I got squashed because I stacked Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson in a lot of weak leads.
Yep.
Did not go well, but we'll get to that later on. So yeah,
unless you want to start with the bad, of course. We'll see though.
Now we just
playoffs,
but they are who we thought they were, and we let them off the hook.
You play to win the game.
Was that a bad transition because I interrupted you?
No, you're fine.
And with that bad transition, would you like to start with the bad tonight? It seems like there was a lot of it.
Let's start with the bad, dude, because there was a lot of things that were just like unbelievable.
All right, let's start my therapy here. The whole Jets offense. Zach Wilson sucked. The whole passing game sucked. The running game sucked with Robinson and Carter. And the Patriots absolutely crushed us. So do we want to own any of the Jets players going forward besides Garrett Wilson?
No, unless you're in a league that has punters where you get points for how many yards your punter punts the ball. Other than that, no. And it's hard because you guys have a really good defense, but it's almost hard to even start that defense because the offense is so bad that the other team's offense is out so much.
It was absolutely pathetic. We had negative yardages going into the third and fourth quarter. And I read something like we moved 2.5 inches, and I'm seeing a bunch of memes of the ruler showing what that was. It was absolutely pathetic. And Zach Wilson's asked in the press conference, did you go ahead?
Well, it just shows how quickly you guys became completely reliant on Breece Hall. Like, if you guys don't have that explosive run, like Zach cannot run the offense. He cannot be in the driver's seat.
No, absolutely not. And you're seeing the frustration with Garrett Wilson, who said that was absolutely unacceptable, and we can't be doing that again, too. The defense has got things that they're saying on social media, so they're expressing in that fashion. I can see why Elijah Moore's frustrations are coming from. And Robert Saleh came out today and said that he is not committing to a starter for this weekend. So do you think there's an upgrade on offense if Mike White starts this weekend against the Chicago Bears?
Yeah, I mean, I almost do, but I mean, even just looking at Joe Flacco threw more touchdowns in 3 games than Zach Wilson has done in 7, I think.
Yeah, no, they're simply relying on the running game and the defense to win games, and the numbers are starting to show that. So if he even gets a chance to start this weekend, he better pick it up, or he's going to be facing, I think, some heavy competition this offseason, potentially from a Derek Carr or Jimmy Garoppolo. I think there'll be a very savvy veteran coming in here to compete with him next year.
There's got to be some type of quarterback competition because he's not progressing the way that you want your young quarterback to be moving along. And
he's got the immaturity that you don't want to see from your young quarterback either, who is called a captain this year, which he's very much not showing that at this point.
Well, you just look at how Josh Allen handled when he played like shit versus you guys. And he came out and said, it's hard to win games if your quarterback plays like trash.
Yep. And he flat out played like trash, and he's not owning it.
And yeah, it's just like, because I mean, you want your quarterback to be a leader and to, take some responsibility. And he's still young. There's still time, but.
Yeah, he's young, but guess what? The defense is at a Super Bowl caliber level where they're not going to have the patience anymore. It's put up or shut up, and it really is. There's no need to waste this defense. And guess what? If he's going to do that and perform to that anonymity, time to move on. You can't put up with it.
I feel like it's a small window where you're going to have a defense that good.
Yep.
And you need to capitalize on it while you have them.
And you would know that from Patriots defenses of the past.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on and get off my frustrations here. Nick Chubb, 14 for 19. Kareem Hunt was better on 5 carries for 32 yards. Chubb got involved in the passing game, but it just did not look good against the Buffalo Bills. So what happened to Nick Chubb?
It's the Buffalo Bills. That's what I'm gonna. That defense is very good. You're still starting Nick Chubb confidently next week. I still think Kareem Hunt, you're not starting him. He's not viable. Players are gonna have some down games, and unfortunately, if you're a Chubb owner, it was this week.
All right. Well, how come the Vikings and Jets were able to rush on this Bills defense and not Chubb?
I don't know, man. I don't know.
All right, we'll move on to another running back that couldn't rush for anything this week. Saquon Barkley, 15 rushes for 22 yards. The Giants kind of fell out of script and fell behind early in this game. And Daniel Jones had a very good fantasy performance despite the turnovers. So what happened to Saquon Barkley? Was it game script? Was it just an effective defensive performance from the Detroit Lions, or what was it?
I think the Lions came in and just said, we're going to stop Barkley. We'll let Daniel Jones do whatever. I think they knew that they did not believe that Daniel Jones would be able to beat them. So they just went straight for Barkley. He only averaged 1.5 yards per carry.
It was bad.
So they're clearly stacking the bots, and I just think they put the ball in Daniel Jones' hands and said, beat us, and it worked.
All right. Kirk Cousins was used and abused against the Dallas Cowboys today. 12 for 23, 105 yards, and this led to Justin Jefferson going 3 for 33. So used and abused yesterday, not today. Elaborate. Is he in a full body cast today?
Yeah, I mean, he's hurting for sure. I mean, no, everyone knows that Dallas defense is no joke. You got to hope it's just a reset game for the Vikings. You saw Dallas get beat by the Packers last week, and they came back and did this. You saw the Bills get beat by the Jets, and they came back and had a strong game. So you're going to have a down game. Obviously, you're not jumping ship on either of those guys. I mean, Kirk Cousins, you're probably not starting him as your QB1 unless you're forced to. But I still think he's a solid QB2.
Okay. Cole Kmet made a pretty catch in this past game, but only went for 35 yards this week. Is he going to be in for better weeks?
Yeah, so we knew he had to return to earth eventually, right? Back-to-back games of 20 points. You can't crush it every game unless your name's Travis Kelce. But with Kmet, you got to monitor that quarterback situation.
Miles Sanders this past weekend, 13 for 47 yards. Our autographed man, he's had really good weeks, but this one wasn't one of his better ones. Yeah,
and the Eagles fell behind, and kind of game script kind of worked him out of that role. They had to get things moving on offense. So a rough game, but probably see him get on track next week.
There was so many rough games by what we would deem as star running backs. Here's another one. Dameon Pierce was absolute garbage. 10 carries for 8 yards. The Commanders' defense just seemed to absolutely smother him this past weekend. I think we kind of thought that's what was going to happen, but I didn't think it was going to be to this extent with Dameon Pierce. Explain what happened here.
Yeah, I mean, just how that front line of Washington is insane. And they just, like you said, they smothered him. They just held him to nothing. So definitely a letdown game. If you're a Pierce owner, you've been kind of living the high life. Has another, decent defense next week against Miami. So, I mean, he has some tough games coming up. He has to play Dallas in week 14, Tennessee in week 16. So there's going to be some tough ones there. But I think you can expect him to bounce back. I don't think you're going to see him lose a ton of work.
So Benjamin?
Yeah. I don't think he's going to lose a ton. He's still the guy. But the Miami matchup's going to be tough as well too.
So you're going to see the production dip just a little bit, you think?
Yeah, I think you're going to see the production dip next week as well. And if you're someone that's I don't know, if you have a weird bye week coming up or something like that, and you're in win now mode, I would if he has another bad week against Miami, I don't know, I'll try to snide him because then he's at Cleveland, he has KC, Jacksonville, Indy.
Okay. Dante Foreman, another running back, 11 carries, 24 yards. Are we about to get off this bandwagon, or is this just going to be a roller coaster ride for the rest of the season? This one's tough.
It's a roller coaster because you got him and Chuba Hubbard. Chuba Hubbard goes insane. Foreman does nothing. Then Foreman goes insane. Hubbard does nothing. I'm just backing out of the Panthers at this point, dude. Like I'm out.
Do you have more faith in this backfield than the Denver Broncos backfield?
I have more faith in Denver now that they cut Melvin Gordon and Chase Edmonds got injured.
Broncos country, let's ride. Broncos rushing game. Murray 17 for 49, Gordon for 31. Nasty, and now Gordon doesn't have a job.
Yeah, and so just look at those like splits though. Hold on, I want to see if I can pull it up very quick what the workload was. So Melvin Gordon rushed 8 times. Edmonds only twice. Latavius Murray 17. So I mean, even at 17 carries, that's pretty productive. But I mean, now there's another 10 carries that are up for grabs.
Which you think will strictly go to Murray?
I don't know if it'll strictly go to Murray, but I think we should easily bank on him getting 15 to 20 carries a game.
Okay, interesting viewpoint. Ezekiel Elliott did come back. I'm not going to say the touchdowns were bad, but it kind of felt like his production wasn't very good, and he kind of just fell ass forward in the end zone, where his counterpart Pollard was much more effective. 42 yards rushing. Are you worried about his usage going forward? I understand he got his touchdowns this week, but people are kind of singing the praises about the red zone work. I am not too optimistic about Ezekiel Elliott. So what's your thoughts on him? He's kind of in a strange category where I didn't know where to throw him this week.
Yeah, Zeke, probably RB2 flats just because of the red zone work, like you said. Pretty much an exact 50-50 split with Pollard, 15 carries each. Pollard was just much more productive with them. And then Pollard got all the receiving work. So if at this point, if there's a running back to have in that offense, it's Pollard.
CeeDee Lamb also in that game went 5 for 45. Was this simply just due to Pollard taking over this game?
Yeah, I mean, the one drive Pollard had, what was it, like a 62-yard touchdown? Another one, he had like a 35-yard touchdown. So those huge chunk plays take a lot away from the other offensive players.
Ryan, is there any other absolutely disgusting performances that you'd like to bring up this week besides Russell Wilson?
No, I think that pretty much covers it.
Okay.
Yeah.
You ready to get into a much more positive light in the positive aspects of Week 11?
Yeah, let's get into some good news.
All right, so let's get into some good news as you suggested. Travis Kelce saved me and gave me about a coin flip chance to win tonight with his 3 touchdown performance. He absolutely looked like a boss, and Patrick Mahomes was absolutely incredible as well. What's your thoughts on the Chiefs offense going forward? Is this going to be just more of this going forward?
Yeah. I mean, Kelce, pretty quiet first half. I don't even know if he had a touchdown at the end of the first. But finished with 115 yards, 3 touchdowns. The one thing we can definitely say is if you haven't dumped CEH already, I don't know why. Dump him.
It's time.
Dump him like yesterday. It's clearly Pacheco's job. Who it kind of went under the radar just because of how good of a game Kelce had, but Pacheco went over 100 yards.
He did.
So he had a solid game. He didn't get the touchdown, but a very solid showing from him. So he's the running back to have there.
So as we said on the show earlier last week, Isaiah Pacheco was a good pickup, and if you would have picked him up, would have gotten over 100 yards from him. All right, as it stated in the title of this episode, Chris Olave had a career game for his very young career. 5 catches on 102 yards and 1 touchdown. What is the ceiling of Chris Olave going forward, and can he have another 100-yard game this upcoming week?
Yeah, so he actually, he's officially broken into wide receiver 1 territory. He's ranked number 11 in PPR leads right now.
Yep.
So he's a very solid fantasy start going forward. I would put him probably more at wide receiver 2, but he'll get you wide receiver 1 weeks depending on the matchup and depending on what quarterback they decide to put in there week to week.
Looking into next year, is he going to be a wide receiver 1 for fantasy?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, depending. Well, I don't know. There's a lot.
Depends on the quarterback situation.
Yeah, it depends on the quarterback. You don't know if Michael Thomas's toe is still gonna hurt, so he might not be there. So there's a lot of things up in the air. But if you're a dynasty owner, you're loving what you're seeing right now.
All right. In the good category, let's talk about a trio of Oakland Raiders who helped demolish the Denver Broncos, sending them back to loser land. Derek Carr, 307 yards, 2 touchdowns. Josh Jacobs, 25 or 109, 3 catches for 51 yards. And Devontae Adams, the absolute boss and touchdown machine, 141 yards, 2 touchdowns. What do you make of the Raiders offense?
Yeah, so it's obviously really good. I mean, Devontae Adams must start. Josh Jacobs must start. It's worth noting they have some pretty decent defenses coming up. They got Seattle, Chargers, Rams, Patriots. So they have a pretty tough 4-game stretch coming up. But Adams, Jacobs still must start. Derek Carr, I'm still putting him as like a QB2, like probably a super flex guy.
Josh Jacobs is falling almost into that fantasy MVP for the spot that you ended up drafting him in. His production has been absolutely phenomenal for the position you ended up drafting him in this year. And we were completely wrong on Josh McDaniels wanting to use him this year. So for as much of a clown he is, and based on the record and how he plays his team, he's definitely getting full usage in bell cow territory out of Josh Jacobs. And someone is going to absolutely pay this man in the offseason, whether it's the Raiders or not.
Yeah, so he's currently ranked as RB3 in PPR leagues. Just looking really quickly at one of my leagues, he was drafted in the 5th round.
Absolutely. All right, we got a question here from the Heckling Fan. Make sure to like and subscribe to the show. And if you want to get that Miles Sanders card, make sure to leave a review for us on Apple. Chaka from the Heckling Fandom says, that was awful. Should I trade away Barkley and Fields for Aaron Jones and A.J. Brown? Full PPR? Absolutely not. That makes no sense.
No, don't do it.
Yeah, no, don't ruin your team by doing that, Chaka. Hang on to those two. Despite the shoulder injury to Fields, I think you need to hang on.
Shoulder injury to Fields, 1 down game from Barkley. But don't unload just because of 1 bad week.
And Chaka, that's the Heckling Fandom, not the Fuckling Fandom. Yeah, word salad there. All right, let's get into our next player here. Joe Burrow, torching again, 4 touchdowns, 355 yards, and T. Higgins 9 for 148. Obviously, a wide receiver 1 while his counterpart is out. What do you like about this Bengals offense going forward, specifically these 2 players?
Yeah, so obviously it's all good things. They have 2 pretty friendly matchups coming up. They got Tennessee and Kansas City, so they're very friendly there. Higgins, wide receiver 16, he's really been killing it without Jamar Chase there. Jamar Chase did start practicing this week, or he's going to start practicing this week.
He is off the crutches at least.
Yeah. So be ready for that dip a little bit, but it's still good to see that rapport is getting established even more so. And a lot of the hype around T. Higgins this offseason is finally coming to fruition.
Yeah, although the counterpart, Tyler Boyd, seemed to just turn away and, become that ghost that is so prevalent on that show. So let's ask our ghost, Ron Seymour, what is your opinion on it? So, yes, he was a ghost like Ron this week. Thank you for that opinion, Ron.
It's really good you always mention him every episode, though, or else I think all of our 7 listeners would forget who he was.
I absolutely think they would too. So yeah, Joe Burrow is performing well enough to carry 2 wide receivers in this offense, and Boyd will have his weeks on and off, and you could probably play him as a wide receiver 3 when Chase is back. But Higgins is a full start, Chase is a full start, and Boyd is in play for your offenses going forward. Even their tight end is going forward, which we will get into in the waiver show, I'm sure. All right, despite the injury to his non-throwing shoulder, Justin Fields had another top 5 quarterback performance. I did say he's injured, but let's talk about the performance. What were your thoughts on Justin Fields this past week?
Yeah, he returned to earth a little bit. Still had a very strong game, but you can't maintain 40-point games forever. So he threw for 153 yards, a touchdown, rushed for another 85. I mean, and another touch. So he has 5 straight games with a rushing touchdown.
Incredible.
That tells you everything you need to know. And all 5 of those games were also accompanied by at least 1 throwing touchdown. That's all you need to know. That is plenty.
With the shoulder injury going forward, though, are they going to keep Taylor making this offense in the style that they've been playing?
That I don't know, because actually I was going to bring it up when we talked about Singletary a little bit. You notice once Josh Allen had that elbow injury, you don't see him getting as many of those red zone rushing touchdowns.
So might you see his production drop just a little bit when he comes back from that injury?
Maybe. I think you might see the rushing word dialed back a little bit. Like you mentioned, has a tough defense with the Jets coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Then he's got another tough defense with Green Bay. Then he's got Philly and Buffalo.
So let me just throw a little bit of a scenario out there for you with this. David Montgomery was very much in play the last 2 seasons of making playoff pushes for many teams based on his usage. They're going to want to keep Justin Fields healthy, so look for him to absolutely get the rock against, yes, very hard defenses, but he's going to get a lot of work in the passing game and in the rushing game. He may be the piece that gets you to – absolutely, and he may be the piece that gets you to the playoffs this year and help you win your championship as he has done the last 2 years for many teams.
100%.
Seems to always put those people across the finish line, and he might again this year. All right, we mentioned Pollard, so let's talk about him a little bit more again. Absolute boss, 15 carries for 80 yards, 6 receptions for 109 yards. The Brees Hall effect. Who would have known Pollard had it in him? Absolutely great week. Let's talk about him a bit.
My biggest question is, so I don't know what his contract is and stuff, but how hard are you going for him in Dynasty? Because you got to assume they're not going to pay Zeke next year, right?
I would think so. He's on the decline. His age is obviously getting up there, but I don't know if they see Pollard as a bell cow. And I don't know the running back they would potentially bring in to replace him, or if it would be someone off their current squad or that they could potentially draft. Are we going to see this production long-term for him? I think you could probably get Pollard for a low-end second-round pick maybe in the Dynasty draft, but it's hard to say.
I think in Dynasty, it's worth considering. Obviously, don't give up too much, but test the waters.
What's his outlook for the rest of the year, think, in redraft?
As far as redraft leads go, surprisingly, he is now the running back 10 in PPR leads. So he's a top 10 running back right now.
That means playable every week.
Yeah, but with the return of Zeke, I'm going to put him at, I feel safe saying RB2.
Okay. All right. What's your thoughts on Jamal Williams? Listen, man, he just gets touchdowns, 17 rushes, 64 yards, 3 touchdowns this week. He leads the league at the rushing position in touchdowns. He's got the James Conner effect this year, just falling face forward for 6 points. What's your thoughts on Jamal Williams going forward?
And until you see Swift come back to what everyone expected from Swift, Williams is a must start.
So start him accordingly.
Yep.
All right. George Pickens, 83 yards and a touchdown. Are we moving him in front of his counterpart in the wide receiver position for the Pittsburgh Steelers? He seems to make plays every week now.
Yeah, I think he's pretty much established himself as probably the only Steeler worth of starting weekly, other than probably Freiermuth.
Najee's been pretty good the last 2 weeks.
Najee had one decent week. I've been dealing with Najee all season. I'm not ready. He had one game. Okay, he had a really good game this week, 27 points, but
and a decent game the week before. He's starting to get back to
he had
level.
9 points the week before.
It's been a lot better than he was before.
All right,
he's going uphill. That's what you want to see from
he
Najee.
hasn't broken 15 points all season till this week.
Is he running back 2 this week?
But he probably is, because he has Indy and Atlanta coming up. So he probably is an RB2, but don't get too excited.
All right. Jonathan Taylor, 22 carries, 84 yards and a touchdown. He back?
Yeah, he's back. Jeff Saturday clearly is working towards forming the offense around him like they should have been doing all season. So I'm stupid for saying dump Jonathan Taylor. I'm sorry if you listen to me, but
yeah, it's a pretty dumb comment to ever make, I think.
Listen, you guys all agree with me.
Jalen Hurts, 18 of 25, got a touchdown, 86 yards, 1 rushing touchdown. He's pretty damn good, right?
Yeah, not surprising at all.
No, absolutely not. Nice to see the consistencies there with him after his first loss of the season. I was a little bit worried about how that would go. Dak Prescott did absolutely phenomenal this week. 22 of 25. The accuracy was definitely there. 276 yards, 2 touchdowns. So got a question for you. He's playing a pretty tough defense in the Giants this upcoming week, and that's on Thanksgiving. I know we haven't broke down the game yet, and we will in the waiver show, but do you think he could potentially play good against a tough defense like that, who got shown up by the Lions?
Yeah, I absolutely do.
All right. Patriots rushing game, pretty decent. Well, Mac Jones didn't do a lot for fantasy. Specifically, Harris, 8 for 65, and Stevenson got it in the passing work. So what do you make of this rushing game now that it seemed like both of them were involved in the game? Is it still just Stevenson, or is Harris starting to work himself back into this offense?
Harris is working himself back, but from a fantasy perspective, especially in PPR leagues, I'm thinking Stevenson's probably still the only one worth that you can start weekly. Right now, I'm still like I was last week. I think Stevenson and Jacoby Myers are probably the only ones that I'm starting.
All right, and then there's also another backfield. This is the Washington Commanders backfield that looked pretty good again against, which we mentioned last week was going to be the game script against the Texans, which was run it down their damn throats with the running backs and get them involved. And they did with both their guys. Antonio Gibson went over 100 yards rushing and receiving, so he got involved in both aspects of the game. And Brian Robinson, 72 yards, and he got 3 catches for 31. Also got 15 carries, so good amount of work for both of them. Can you play both of them going forward? Which one do you want more? What do you make of these two?
Yeah, so I think you can definitely play both of them going forward. I'm leaning more Gibson at this point.
All right. And then you ready to get to the surprising category of these recaps?
Yep, 1 second.
Absolutely no problem. While Ryan is off, I will first mention Alvin Kamara, who was, I think, mildly surprising. He's been a little bit disappointing this season, but he's starting to catch back on again. He went 12 for 42 for rushing and 4 catches for 47 yards. So I just wanted to ask you real quick, Ryan, are you surprised that Alvin Kamara seems to be catching back on here a little bit? But you're pretty low on him in the earlier part of the season.
Yeah, I am surprised, especially because last week I said that I did not foresee him being productive if Andy Dalton remained the quarterback.
And he was.
He was. And it also, Andy Dalton was very productive. So it will be interesting to see that matchup if they kind of figured out if you get Kamara involved in the offense, then it kind of makes everything run better.
Yeah. Speaking of productive Saints players, here's a name that not a lot of people know, but he's starting to get on people's radars, especially at the tight end position. Juwan Johnson, 3 weeks in a row at the tight end position is over 10 points, and he's done this in, I believe, 5 out of 7 games for fantasy lately. So this is 3 weeks in a row he's been productive at the fantasy position at a very bad tight end position this year. So what's your thoughts on Juwan Johnson going forward?
You can't ask for much more from a tight end that's not in that top 2 or 3 than double-digit points for 3 straight games. I mean, if you can get that consistency, then he's definitely a viable tight end option.
Absolutely. All right, and rookie Kenny Pickett did get absolutely rocked in this game, but I think we're starting to see a little progression from him. So it wasn't surprising that he was great in this game because he wasn't, but you're starting to see those progressions, and his offense is starting to click a little bit more. So I'm starting to be surprised that we're actually seeing production from Kenny Pickett, considering how bad he was earlier in the season. Are you liking what you're seeing in production here?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty rare that you're going to have a rookie that comes out and just crushes it. Obviously, there's going to be some growing pains there, but it definitely seems like he is moving in the right direction. He still takes a little bit more risks than he should, which is why he has so many interceptions. But he's definitely progressing in the direction you want to see.
Any chance that in 2 QB leagues that you could potentially play him, or are you still completely off the radar with him?
No, I wouldn't even be looking at him.
All right, we'll move off the rookie then. Start talking about some wide receivers now. Amari Cooper and Donovan Peoples-Jones were very effective in a neutral site game. That's the only one Amari Cooper seems to be productive in for the Cleveland Browns. So Amari Cooper got his 2 touchdowns, and Peoples-Jones got his catches. So what's your thoughts on these two going forward? Who do you have faith in? And obviously, Peoples-Jones is on the waiver priority again this week, correct?
Yeah, I said it last week. I'll say it again. Go get Peoples-Jones if he's still there.
Probably still there.
If somehow everyone has fallen asleep at the wheel. Go get him.
How did Amari Cooper look so good in this game?
Amari Cooper looked good. He did. But I still like Peoples-Jones more.
Okay. Let's talk about a running back here. Devin Singletary, 86 yards and a touchdown, seems to still be producing there for the Bills. Although his counterpart, James Cook, had 11 carries and 86 yards, and that was 7.8 yards a carry. Not the kind of running back we thought that James Cook was going to be because of his size. Could we see some work starting to divvy between these two, or is Singletary going to still be the productive back for the Buffalo Bills?
I mean, you definitely saw an effort to get James Cook involved, which I think was a nice sigh of relief for all dynasty owners that were big on James Cook and took him. He has been very quiet this year, but with them getting rid of Zach Moss, kind of opened up the door for him a bit. And Singletary, it's been nice. Like I mentioned before, I think that the injury to Josh Allen has kind of made Singletary more viable just because of all the red zone work. The biggest downside for this, I think, is everyone that was excited about them taking Nyheim Hines.
He's done nothing.
Who has done nothing.
I said he was going to be a running back too, and he has done absolutely nothing. That is a cold take on my part.
Yep, negative 0.8 points last week.
Yeah, all right. So with that, though, what is this running back backfield going to look like going forward for the Buffalo Bills now that we're seeing a little bit of work for both of them?
I almost see it going exactly like we saw this week. Like I could foresee that just being kind of how they utilize their running game. Just have Singletary be your main guy, have Cook there to kind of give some relief. And I don't know. I don't see Nyheim Hines really factoring in a ton. So he's had one other game with 11 attempts. The rest, he's always been under 5. So to see him get 11 attempts with 86 yards, definitely a good sign. So I almost see it continuing on that way. But I do think we see Singletary remaining as the red zone guy.
So let me ask you this then. So Singletary is a running back too, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, and does that play into the fact that James Cook could potentially be a flex going forward then, or do you think he's not quite at that level?
Yeah, I mean, if they continue with that same type of game script, then I would definitely say James Cook is in flex territory.
Okay. What's your thoughts on their tight end again? Dawson Knox, 7 for 70 yards this week. It seems to be working himself into the game script a little bit with other players being quiet on that Bills offense. Yeah,
he's like slowly creeping back into fringe tight end 1 territory. He's slowly creeping back up there after, some down games. They got some pretty decent matchups as far as tight ends goes. They have Detroit, New England, Miami. So he might be streamable, but I'd definitely pay attention to the matchup.
All right. This was very surprising, and I don't think it bodes well for the Ravens offense. Demarcus Robinson seems to be the man there. Wide receiver 1, 128 yards. But it didn't make Lamar Jackson look good. He hasn't looked good in the last few weeks. So is Demarcus Robinson the number 1 going forward? What is going on there in Baltimore?
I'm calling it a flash in the pan. Until I see it happen again, I'm not rushing out for Demarcus Robinson. The dude broke 10 points one other time this season.
All right. You said he's only had 1 good performance. You were wrong. It was 2. Najee Harris, 88 yards and a touchdown. Go ahead and elaborate on how you were wrong.
What? How is that wrong?
He's on an upward trajectory.
He's on an upward trajectory. That's weird. What's his other good performance? He had
the week before. It's 9 points.
That's 9 points. That doesn't even. No, 9 points is not a good week.
So this was a good week, though, right?
This is the one good week. Yes.
Is he gonna have a good week next week?
He's going against Indy, so he's had back-to-back weeks of 20 attempts. He hadn't seen 20 attempts all season. So if they continue making an effort to give him that much work, then I think we could see it. All
right. As we said, Daniel Jones had a damn good performance for fantasy. Not really from a quarterback perspective. I mean, he threw a lot of picks though. But it was a top performance on the week, 26.6 points. But this was against the Lions. obviously a good streamer against the Lions. You can stream anyone against the Lions. Does Daniel Jones have more performances like this in the upcoming year?
I don't know with Wan'Dale Robinson now out for the season.
Yeah, it sucks.
That definitely taints them, but you also got to figure they have to have some type of game plan for teams when they game script against the Saquon Barkley. You know what's crazy? I just looked. He is QB 10.
QB1.
He's a QB1.
Disgusting.
Like, but he has Dallas coming up, which will be rough.
Philly twice, I'm sure.
Philly twice. Has to face Washington, the Vikings.
Got some tough defenses there.
Yeah, but I guess I'm gonna have to say in super flex leagues, he's borderlines. You'd probably start him, right?
Yeah. And as we already stated too, Wan'Dale went 9 for over 100 before that awful injury that sucks. But what I wanted to ask you here is Slayton went 5 for 86. Going forward, is he obviously a high upside wide receiver 3? They need someone to throw to, and he seems to be like the target.
Yes, definitely.
What's the ceiling for him?
I would say the ceiling would be like wide receiver 2. I'm not expecting wide receiver 1 leads.
Okay. And what's your thoughts on Andy Dalton's weird ass week? 22.2 fantasy points against the Rams, who are not a terrible defense, I don't think. I mean, not fantastic this year, but where did the decent performance come from Andy Dalton?
I think it came from them actually getting Kamara involved. But they have some tough matchups coming up. They have San Fran, the Bucs, they have Philly. He's broken 20 points 3 times this season.
Mm-hmm.
Probably, I don't know, like a very fringe QB2.
God, you playing him in the upcoming weeks as a flex play?
Not against San Fran. I know that.
Okay. And that we'll just take it from a week standpoint up to this point. All right. I hate bringing up this name. Hate bringing it up, but he's played decent again. Paris Campbell, 5 for 67, still involved. You fallen on this bear trap?
I think so, yeah. Like he's at least worthy of a flex consideration at this point.
Oh God. I can't bring myself to do it. He's done it 2-3 weeks in a row now. He's done it more than that this season.
He's facing Pittsburgh next weekend. You want to start him in the flex against Pittsburgh?
You should. I won't.
Right? You don't like it, but you should.
Yeah, you probably should. And we're here for the heckling fandom, so probably play him.
Yeah.
As we already stated, David Montgomery had a great week. 17 carries, and he got involved in the passing game. I think he's going to be in for monster weeks, correct?
Yeah. Yep. Especially,
even against tough defenses, I think.
Yeah.
I believe in David Montgomery.
And with Herbert out, if Fields isn't rushing as much, yeah, Montgomery might do his typical thing where he just crushes it at the end of the year.
Mm-hmm. This isn't surprising as for the production, but I wanted to bring this up that Mark Andrews looked pretty healthy in this game for the Ravens. Do you think he's going to be good going forward? I'm excited based on his health, and that's what surprised me in this standpoint. So evaluate Mark Andrews here a little bit for me.
Yeah, so I have Andrews in a few leads, so I was very nervous, like going into this week of what he would be doing.
Mm-hmm.
So it was good to see him come out and have a solid showing. I mean, 6 receptions for 63 yards. You can't ask for a ton more than that. So it was definitely encouraging to see that you can still keep starting him weekly.
Absolutely. And last player on this list, we're going to do it, Ryan. Actually, I've got 2. I'm sorry. Terrence Marshall, 3 for 76 yards with Baker Mayfield back at the helm for the Carolina Panthers, who are really, really trying to get a top 5 pick and get someone else at the quarterback position next year. What's your thoughts on Terrence Marshall going forward? He's had a few decent productive games.
I'm out on the Panthers, dude. I'm out.
Even Terrence Marshall in an emergency?
You don't know what they're going to do, no, I'm out. You don't know what quarterback's playing. Nope.
All right. Are you in on Jacoby Brissett for one more week? 28 of 41 and 3 touchdowns. He's got one more week to play.
I mean,
they're on bye, actually, aren't they?
No, they got Tampa.
Okay, so what's your thoughts on it?
Against Tampa, I would say if you're a 1 QB lead, no. QB2, you could start him in super flats.
Okay. And then I really believe that's it. Is there any players that I really badly missed here, Ryan?
I don't think so. The one that I don't think we touched on much that did have kind of a down game was Dalvin Cook. I mean, that whole Vikings game was just bad.
Yeah, but I think that was more because he didn't really have a chance or the opportunities there. His quarterback was just getting absolutely manhandled. And I mean, the production was there when he actually got his ball in the ball in his hands. But how could he get it in his hands when his quarterback was just absolutely getting destroyed? He needed to be blocking back there. It still wasn't successful.
That's true. I mean, only 11 attempts, which is very low for him.
Mm-hmm. But it was still over 70 yards, so it was still a good usage for him.
So expect Dalvin Cook to bounce back. It was
I have no worries about Dalvin Cook.
That was a reset game. So don't panic and unload Dalvin Cook.
No, absolutely not. So, guys, if you like what you hear on Garbage Time Fantasy Football, make sure to like and subscribe here on YouTube. We would absolutely love more members for the Heckling Fandom. You can also reach us at www.garbagetimeff.com, where you can leave us voice and hate mails. We love playing them on the shows. We love when people scream at us, criticize us, or leave commendations, and we help you on your fantasy football teams. We play it all here, folks. If you want to listen to us in an audio format too, you can do that on Apple, Spotify, Google, Pandora, Amazon, Iheartradio, Tunein. We are also live here on YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. And Ryan, how do you win that autographed Gridiron Miles Sanders card?
You got to like and subscribe and comment.
What else? There's one more. You've almost passed this quiz.
You got to follow us. Maybe. No, leave a review. Leave a 5-star review.
Where?
On Apple.
Yeah, that's great. Obviously, you're not winning that card this year because you don't know what to do.
Wait, didn't I get it right?
Yeah, after I asked you twice.
That's fine.
Why don't you write this shit down? I ask you it every week.
I don't know, man. I don't want the Miles Sanders card anyway.
Yeah, okay. You'd still want an autograph card. It's a football player.
True.
And a pretty good one at that.
He ruined my fantasy season 2 years ago. Not over it.
Yeah, well, I'm not over that Jets performance this past weekend, and I don't think it will be for a few weeks.
Fair.
Now then, yeah, that's absolutely fair. And guys, as we said, tomorrow we will have a very early waiver show for you too, based on a lot of our schedules based on the holiday week. And JJ will have a very special preview show for the weekend shows. And on the waiver show tomorrow, we will have a preview of the Thanksgiving shows games lined up for you. So, guys, like and subscribe to the show here on YouTube and join us very early tomorrow for the waiver show for getting your lineups ready for Thursday. And on that note, guys, have a great night.